Hey Terry, we're live. I think we're ready to get started whenever you are.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thanks.
All right. This June 30th, 2020 meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment is now in session. I am Terry Brown, acting chairperson. Also sitting on today's board is Deborah Dryden, Douglas Wilson, Emma Allen, and John Floyd. Also present are Shad Spencer, zoning administrator, Lisa McCarter, planning projects manager, Terry Hagler Gray, senior assistant city attorney, Andrea Leslie Fight, Senior Assistant City Attorney, Max Oliver, Clerk to the Board, and Verbatim Reporter. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are conducting this meeting using a remote electronic platform. This is the second remote meeting of the Charlotte Zoning Board of Adjustment, and I would ask for your patience today as we proceed. There may be slight delays as we transition between speakers, participants, and presenters. The Zoning Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body that is governed by the North Carolina General Statutes and the Charlotte Zoning Ordinance, which conduct evidentiary hearings on requests for variance and appeals, among other requests. Before we begin the hearing the cases on today's agenda, I would like to provide some important information on the steps that we were taken to ensure that each party's due process rights are protected as we proceed in this remote platform. First, today's meeting will be conducted in accordance with newly enacted state statutes passed by the North Carolina General Assembly in Session Law 2020-3 that allow for remote meetings and quasi-judicial hearings during declarations of emergency. Second, each participant was notified before being placed on today's agenda that this meeting will be conducted using a remote electronic platform. Every applicant on today's agenda has consented to the board conducting the evidentiary hearing on their request using this remote platform. If there is any objection to the case proceeding in this platform, the case will be continued and moved to the regular agenda to be heard in person at a later date. Third, notice of the meeting was provided to the applicants and the public in a number of ways. Notice of today's hearing was mailed to property owners within 300 feet of each subject property and notified the property owners of the remote electronic platform, and the letters also stated to contact the city immediately if there were any objections to the case or the remote electronic platform. I would like to emphasize that no cases are proceeding today in which the city received any objection to the case itself being heard on the remote meeting platform. Notice was also provided by placing signs on each property and by publishing notice on the city's website. The notices for today's meeting contained information about means by which the public can access today's proceedings. Finally, any individual wishing to participate in today's evidentiary hearings were required to sign up prior to today's proceedings. This information was also included on the board's website. Again, I would like to emphasize that no case today is proceeding which anyone objected to the case itself or the remote meeting platform by which the hearing is being conducted. Today, applications for a variance from the regulations in the zoning ordinance. The order of the recommended agenda will be as follows. The zoning administrator or zoning staff member will identify the case and recommend approval of the variance with any recommendations. And I will check to see if anybody would like to speak in opposition. If there is such a person, then the case will be moved to the regular agenda and will be heard at a later date. Um, if you feel there's a conflict of interest, please let me know before the start of your case. Please let me know before the start of your case. The board is acting in a quasi-judicial capacity for purposes of this hearing and can only accept sworn testimony. While the board will not specifically exclude hearsay evidence, it is only given limited weight. The North Carolina State Bar has issued an advisory opinion that it is the unauthorized practice of law for an individual who is not an active member of the bar to appear for another on otherwise assist or represent another at a quasi-judicial hearing on zoning and land use matters. All applicants should have been provided with a copy of that advisory opinion at the time you filed your application. If you are a property owner or a non-lawyer here on behalf of a property owner and have not received a copy of that opinion, please use the WebEx platform function to virtually raise your hand and the clerk will provide it to you. If, as a result of this advisory opinion, the applicant would like to request a continuance of his or her case, the board will consider such requests at the start of that case. Appeals from this board is to the Mecklenburg County Superior Court. You will have 30 days from the date of the board's written decision in which to appeal in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 160A-388E. In order to receive a written copy of the decision, any aggrieved party must file a written request for a copy of the board's decision by filling out the form, which must be filed with the board clerk or chairperson at the time of the hearing in the case. Please remember to mute your microphone when you are not intending to speak. You will hear 3 cases today. If any case is opposed, it will be removed from the regular agenda and heard at a later date. The first case is case number 2020-045 5315 Londonderry Road, and that will be presented by Lisa McCarter of staff.
Terry, we only have 4 members sitting on the board right now, so we'll need to ask the applicant if they still want to proceed, which is the 4 members.
Okay. Are the applicants on now?
Yes. Mr. Cox?
I'm here. Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. We only have 4 members sitting on the board now, so is there any objection to hearing this matter with only the 4 members?
No objections.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is John Floyd. Who are we missing?
Rick was unable to join, and Emma Allen is not in attendance. Oh, she actually just started.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Emma, can you hear us?
Sorry, not because I'm trying to delay things. I just thought I saw 5 people.
Oh, thanks, John. Emma, can you hear us? You'll have to unmute your microphone.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you.
All right, are we ready to proceed? I think Lisa is still muted. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, you're still muted.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, good morning, everybody. The first case is an accessory structure side yard variance request. The applicant is requesting a 3.5-foot variance from the required 5-foot accessory structure side yard to allow the replacement of a non-conforming carport. And I'll give you a minute to look over your findings. Just let me know when you'd like to proceed.
I believe we're ready to proceed.
Okay. Exhibit 1 is a vicinity map of the subject property. Exhibit 2 is a zoning map of the subject property. The property is zoned R4 and it's surrounded by other R4 zonings. This is an aerial map of the property. Exhibit 4 is a close-up of the property. You can see this is Londonderry Road to the left, and then the carport to the side of the home. The property was subdivided in 1962 through a plat, and in 1962, the home and carport were both built. And you can see the carport at the top of the drive there. The applicant wanted to replace the carport and went to get a building permit to do so, and then found out that the location of the existing carport is not compliant. that accessory structures are not permitted in the required side yard, and that the required side yard for the property is 5 feet. So the current carport, you could see the footprint with the dashed line of the current carport, and that's where the applicant proposes to replace in the exact same footprint with the same size carport and have a 1.5 foot side yard with a 3.5 foot variance from the 5 foot side yard. Staff supports the proposed request. The roof of the current carport needs repair, and the applicant has stated that there's not materials available to repair a carport. The approximate side yard door location of the home leads into the carport, leading to the layout, lending itself to the carport location. And I tried to get a picture of the side door and the carport, and you can kind of see the side door in this picture. And here's a photo of the front of the home. So that's it if you have any questions.
All right, are there any questions from the board? All right. Is there any reason that anybody believes this should be moved to the regular agenda? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion for approval of this variance by Ms. Allen with a second by Mr. Wilson. Do we need to do a roll call vote on these? I believe so, since we're.
Yes.
All right. So, Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Brown, yes. All right. So that variance has been approved and granted. Did anybody see anything in the findings of fact they need to be changed? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
Move approval of findings of facts as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we've got a motion for approval by Ms. Allen with a second by Mr. Floyd. Do a roll call vote again. Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
and Brown, yes. All right, we will move on to our next case. That is case number 2020-047, 3138 Commonwealth Avenue.
Okay, the next case is for a residential street side yard variance. The applicant is requesting a 5 foot variance from the required 15 foot street side yard to allow additions within the established street side yard of the home. And I'll give you a minute to look over your findings. Just let me know when you're ready.
All right, I believe we're ready to go.
Exhibit 1 is a vicinity map of the subject property. Exhibit 2 is a zoning map. The property is zoned R4 single family and is in an area surrounded by other R4 single family. Exhibit 3 is an aerial map of the property. Property is a corner property on the corner of Commonwealth and Waterman. Waterman leads into 3 other roads that all dead end, 2 into Briar Creek and 1 into Independence. Exhibit 4 is a close-up of the property. So this is the front of the home facing Commonwealth and the side on Waterman. The property was subdivided in 1939, and the home on the property was built in 1940. Currently, the applicant has an established street side yard of 10.5 feet, and this is from a chimney that juts out just a little bit. The applicant would like to add a second story into their attic and also expand upon the rear of the property. This is the existing encroachment into the street side yard, and the proposed addition and second story will not expand that existing non-conforming encroachment. So they'd like to use that established side yard, and they're asking for a 5-foot variance into the 15-foot street side yard to allow a 10-foot street side yard. The applicant states that the property is sloped. There's a retaining wall on the property, and so that if they put the addition onto the interior side of the lot, there would be problems with the foundation and water. Another consideration is that it's got a lot of vegetation along Waterman, so it's not easily seen or easy to detect from the street. Here's a photo of the front of the subject property. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, are there any reason why this should be moved to off the recommendation agenda?
I'm sorry, I have one question. Just to be clear, they're asking for the variance on the chimney side of this house?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Is anybody have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion to approve by Ms. Dryden, second by Ms. Allen, I believe. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Dryden,
Yes.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
and Brown, yes. All right. Let's take a look at the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Did anyone see anything in the findings of fact or conclusion of law that need to be changed? All right. Hearing none now, is there a motion?
I'm to approve the findings and facts.
I second.
Okay. We've got a motion by Mr. Wilson and second by Ms. Dryden. Roll call vote. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Dryden, Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Ms. Allen, Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Brown, yes. All right. We will now go on to our third case for today. Case number 2020-050, 2111 Juniper Drive.
Okay, this case is for a residential setback and rear yard variance. The applicant is requesting 2 variances to allow the development of a single-family home on the property, a 10-foot variance from the required 30-foot setback, and a 20-foot variance from the required 40-foot rear yard. And I'll give you a minute to look at your findings and just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, believe we can go ahead.
Exhibit 1 is a vicinity map of the property. You can see the property is located where it backs up to I-77. Exhibit 2 is a zoning map of the property. The property is zoned R4 single family, and it has other R4 single family properties in the same area. Exhibit 3 is an aerial map of the property. Exhibit 4 is a close-up of the property, and this is Juniper Drive. It's kind of light, but it's right there. So the zoning regulations on this lot require a 30-foot setback and a 40-foot rear yard. And if you impose that on the lot, that ranges in depth from about 67 feet to 83 feet, you get a building depth of 13 feet and then all the way to where the rear yard and setback overlap, and you have a negative measurement of 3.17 feet. So the applicant is requesting a variance of 10 foot from the 30-foot front setback so that they'll have a 20-foot setback, and 20 foot from the 40-foot rear yard so that they'll have a 20-foot rear yard. This will give them from 43 feet to about 27 feet of building depth. Staff supports the proposed request. When the lots were originally subdivided, the lot is made up of these two lots together. It ranged from 404 to 418 feet in depth, which would have given a lot bigger building depth for the home. Now it's 67 to 83 because of the 77 right-of-way that was attained over the years. The lot next door was granted a variance last year because their front porch encroached into the front setback. It was granted also because of all the right-of-way that was taken for 77. And Exhibit 8 is a property photo. Currently, the property is wooded and vacant. So that's my presentation if you have any questions.
All right. Is there any questions for Ms. McCarter on this? Is there any reason why anyone believes this should be moved off the recommendation agenda? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the variance.
Second.
We've got a motion by Mr. Wilson with a second by Ms. Allen. Roll call vote. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Dryden,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Brown, yes. And if you guys can bear with me for 1 second. Is Max still on the call? Can you check the check your chat box, Max, please?
Yes, I just sent you an email with the finding of facts.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, if you guys give me 1 second. Sorry, guys, you just bear with us for 1 minute, please. Do all the board members have access to the findings of fact for this case?
I don't have access to them.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
Here, I'm going to send a link to everybody. Sorry about that. It should be coming to everyone's email.
Has everybody had a chance to review those new findings of fact that were just sent over?
Yes, I have.
All right. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the finding facts of law.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We've got a motion by Mr. Wilson with a second by Mr. Floyd. Roll call vote. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Ms. Dryden,
Yes.
Ms. Allen, Ms. Allen,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Brown, yes. All right. That will conclude the cases that we have on the agenda for today. No other cases. We do need to approve next the findings of fact and conclusion of law in case 2020-04. That was emailed out by Max earlier this week, or last week rather. Has everybody had a chance to go through that finding of fact and conclusion of law for that case?
Mr. Brown, may I point out that when we did our first rezoning request, you didn't poll me for case number 2020-045.
My apologies. I didn't see you on at that time. I'm sorry about that.
So just to let you know that I wasn't polled for either one of those votes.
Okay.
For the record.
Do we need to go back and redo that vote to include Ms. Dryden? That case has been closed now, or
It has been closed, and it passed even without Ms. Dryden's vote. But so you can do it, but it's not necessary at this point because you've already had an approval by the majority of the board. So
That's fine. I would have voted yes on both. I just wanted to make sure that it was in the record that I wasn't polled for those two votes.
And my apologies on that. I seemed to miss you when I was scrolling through. So sorry about that, Ms. Dryden.
Thank you.
All right. Has everybody had the opportunity to review the findings of fact and inclusion of law for 2020-04?
I have.
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We've got a motion to approve by Mr. Floyd and a second by Ms. Allen. Roll call vote. Mr. Floyd?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Dryden?
Yes.
Mr. Brown, yes. All right, our next order of business. Check. Right agenda back up. Our next order of business for today will be the election of a chair. To serve alongside our current chair, Mr. Sanderson. And is there a particular way we need to handle this, Max?
I believe you should just ask for a nomination, get a second, and then ask for a motion.
Okay. Is there a nomination for a co-chair to serve alongside Mr. Sanderson?
I just, one point of clarification. I assume that you have to be a full member in order to be co-chair, correct?
That is a good question. Max, can you verify that?
I will defer to Andrea.
our rules of procedure do not speak to that issue. But out of an abundance of caution, I would ask that it be a full member.
And can you just let us know again, so everybody on the board knows who is a full member and who is an alternate?
Yes, the full members are Rick Sanderson, Terry Brown, and Deborah Dryden.
Okay.
We need to get some more full members.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Is there a motion or a nomination, rather?
I guess my next question is, can a non-full member nominate the co-chair?
Yes.
Okay. I nominate Terry Brown.
Second.
Okay. Is there a we need to do a roll call vote?
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Dryden,
Yes.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Brown, yes. All right. So we've got done with that piece of business. And next, after that, we have to do the approval of the minutes. We've got two sets of minutes to approve. Both of those were sent out by Max last week. We'll start with the February 2020 minutes. And I believe everybody that was there that day is here today as well, or with the exception of Rick. But is there a motion for approval of the February 2020 minutes?
Motion to approve.
What's that? That was your break. I couldn't hear that.
The motion to approve.
Okay. We got a motion to approve by Mr. Floyd. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. A motion to approve by Mr. Floyd with a second by Mr. Wilson for the February 2020 minutes. Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Dryden,
I was not present at that February meeting. I didn't come onto the board until March.
okay. I believe that we, Brown, yes. So the minutes still pass that way. And then the last bit of business, we have the approval of the May 2020 meeting minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those minutes? Assuming yes, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
We got a motion to approve by Ms. Dryden. Is there a second?
Motion.
All right, motion to approve by Ms. Dryden, second by Mr. Wilson. Roll call vote. Ms. Dryden,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Brown, yes. All right, that concludes all the business that we have today. Is there anything else that we need to cover, Max?
Nope, that is everything.
All right. Well, I thank everybody for their time today. And I guess we will.
Terry, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Terry. I just had a question about the co-chair vote you just took.
Yes.
Is that in lieu of having a vice chair?
I would believe so. I defer to Max. Max was the one that told us we need to do a co-chair vote.
Okay.
It was my understanding that it was a co-chair and not a vice chair.
I know previously we've had we've had a chair and a vice chair. I wasn't aware if things had changed on that front or not.
Our rules of procedure don't speak to a co-chair versus a vice chair. I would just ask that we revisit this at our next meeting after staff has had a chance to huddle on this matter. Mr. Brown.
That's fine. That's fine with me.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, you were previously the vice chair, true?
No, I was not. I filled in before, but I was never elected as vice chair.
I see. Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anything else? All right. Well, thank everybody for their time and have a good rest of your week and stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks.